Okay, well, it's a bit of a wet day here in New Zealand. I thought what I'd do today is just give you a little bit of an overview of what I've done with this RonBox, how I've fitted it, some of the trials I've been doing, and also the great customer service that you get from Ron over there in the UK. Also, what I've done is, as well as I've fitted what they call a boost control valve, or a boost tee from Turbo Smart, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that and how it's improved the running performance of the engine in conjunction with the RonBox, and also a boost gauge that I've fitted. So I've had a few discussions with Ron about what all these settings mean, and basically the fuel one is self-evident, minimum and maximum in terms of giving you more fuel to your injectors. I've started to get a bit more of an understanding of what this reading does here from 1 through till 10. 1 is evident off, and then you've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 and 10 is the same as 1 and 2. Now basically what this little box does is it senses the voltage coming from the map sensor or the boost sensor, and depending on what setting that you have it on here, it limits the voltage. Now you're probably wondering, what does that allow you to do? This little unit here, the map sensor, the boost sensor, what it does is it feeds information to the ECU, and one of the things it does feed to it is a voltage output. So 5 volts goes in, and all depending on what the boost is on the car, all depends on whether it's running at 1.6 volts and I think up to about 4.5 volts. If your boost exceeds what Land Rover deemed to be the safe boost for it, the ECU then chops the fuel to the car and limits the amount of fuel you put in, so you're not over boosting the engine with it. And it's been quite interesting really how that's worked with me. And so what I did is I set up this Turbo Smart boost tee, and basically what this does is this allows you to control the boost pressure to the activator, or sometimes what is called as the wastegate on the 200 TDI, which is difficult to get to. It's actually around the back. So what I did initially was I set the boost up to 1 bar, which is about what Land Rover say, fitted the boost gauge, trialled the engine, and definitely by fitting this boost tee, the vessel pulls a lot better. Now what I did was I tested my wastegate using this by putting air into it and increasing the pounds per square inch of the bar to see when my wastegate would start opening, and interestingly enough it started opening at 0.6 at 0.6, and they call that what they call wastegate creep. And basically, so what's happening, before I get up to maximum boost, the valve inside here is opening, and that's allowing exhaust gas to bypass the turbocharger, and out it goes through the exhaust, which in effect slows down the spinning of the turbocharger and takes it a little bit more to get up to speed. What the boost tee does is it eliminates that completely, because this controls the pressure. The great thing about the boost tee as well is it actually allows you to increase the boost if you so wish. Now what I did was I increased the boost, or attempted to increase the boost, using the Turbo Smart boost tee up to about 1.3 boost, 1.3 psi bar, should I say, 1.3 bar, to reduce a little bit of the black smoke with the overfueling of the RonBox. And these are what the settings are here. When I had it on set 7, it wouldn't allow the voltage chop in here. Evidently exceeded the control mechanism from here to the ECU, and it chopped the fuel. Now Ron's advised me if I put it on 4 or 5 setting here, that then limits the voltage a little bit more, in effect tricking the ECU, saying that there's less boost going into the engine, when actually we know there's more boost going into the engine, because we're using this little unit here. So this, if you will, sort of massages the information to the ECU and allows you to increase your boost and your fueling, but not allowing the ECU to chop your fuel off. So it's quite good how that works. There's a lot of talk on the internet about what you can run these units up to, what's a safe boost, and this, that and the other. And there's a chap that in Australia has done a lot of work with these units, runs an outfit called Thermogard, and I did a little bit of a spread on there in terms of his exhaust gas temperature probe here. And the relevance of it is, if you're going to start tuning your engine over and above Land Rover's spec, it's really paramount that you know what's going on inside the engine, in particular with your exhaust gas temperature here. Because what can happen is, if you start getting excessive exhaust gas temperatures here at your manifold, you can start doing damage internally to the engine. Things get overly hot. Now, there's a lot of literature on the internet there saying that limit it to about 720. So I'm being a little bit more conservative, and what I've done is I've set this up, the RonBox, with this boost gate valve here, to limit my exhaust gas temperature on maximum load. If I've got the horse float behind me going up a really steep hill and I'm giving it the gun, to belly out at 700 degrees C. Also, because I fitted the engine watchguard alarm on here, I've noticed that the cylinder head temperature does increase, but I've never seen it anything over 94, 95 degrees, which is probably about 6 or 7 degrees hotter than what it normally runs under normal load. But I've got the alarm set at 98, and if I think the engine temperature is getting up there a little bit too much, then I'll just back off on the throttle, and the head temperature starts to drop back. So by fitting these additional gauges into the unit, what it's allowing me to do is to tune my engine to its optimum performance, but without destroying it. So I think it's really important that if you are going to go down the line of tuning these units, that you have a good understanding about what each of these individual units do and what effect it has on the engine, in terms of, well, you know, it increases its performance, but there's no such thing as a free breakfast. Increasing performance increases heat, so you need to keep an eye on it. So just a bit of a recap then. I'm really pleased with the RonBox. I've had a good discussion with Ron in the UK, and he's been very helpful. Great piece of gear, really reasonably priced, and he's very helpful in terms of giving you help and advice and support. So what the next step is going to be is I'm just going to continue with my trials, but at the moment I'm really happy on 5 setting and about half fuel or even full fuel with it, to really get the poke out the engine. But of course you're getting poke at a cost. So what I've done is I've backed the fuel off now to half fueling. And there's not that much difference in performance, but the fuel economy is much better. So I'm getting about 850k out of a full tank, which is quite good with it. So what I'll do is I'll just give you an overview of the 300 TDI engine there, so you can see it through, and then I'll just run you through into the cab, which we'll do here, and I'll just talk a little bit about the boost gauge. So I fitted the Turbo Smart boost gauge, which you can see here. Basically what I'm aiming for now is to get the engine to boost up to about 1.2 bar, 1.3, and I'm not gonna set it anymore. I mean, I could fiddle. I had a chat with Ron in the UK, and he can fiddle with a RonBox to limit the voltage even more. But my point is, at the end of the day, I've certainly improved the performance of the 300 TDI engine significantly, and what I don't want to do is keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and end up in a situation where you try and get too much performance out of the engine at the detriment of the engine itself. So I'm after maximum performance and power, but key thing for me is reliability, and I think I found a new balance here with it. But I definitely needed to fit the boost gauge, and I'll do some trial runs on the road so you can see the boost gauge working, because without the boost gauge you've basically no idea what the turbocharger is boosting at. Although I do have the Hawkeye diagnostics equipment, and you can look at the pressure through the diagnostics equipment, it doesn't really give you a true value of what it is, and that's why you need the boost gauge fitted. And that was really simple to fit, a couple of T-pieces, and away you go. So I hope you've just enjoyed this little bit of a recap, and what I'll do is I'll post this up on YouTube, and if you've got any questions about it, feel free to ask, and I'll try and answer them as best as I possibly can. Thanks.